Hey, Matty and Moses here from Pixlmob, and we're about to have a conversation about the do's and don'ts of outsourcing your editing.
It's worth hearing. We've got Chick-fil-A, we've got Wolfgang Puck, we've got an argument about Emerald. I mean, you should tune in and how to grow your business and work with editors.
I mean, the big benefit of outsourcing and working with a team is that there's a person that's trying to understand what you are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, trying to discern that like creative intent, what you were trying to create on site, they're trying to complete that.
Yeah. The downside is that sometimes they miss that entirely.
And then that goes really badly as they insert their own creative intent.
Yes. And then there's another side of it, which is that it completely, you invest with one person, and then that person is no longer part of that company,
And then
or
they disappear.
Or
like,
they just ghost one day all of a sudden.
Or a typhoon hits the Philippines and you lose your editing team and you got to find a new one.
Hopefully not lose your editing team.
We didn't lose them, but they were down and they didn't have internet access for like a week.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be true if you're working with people across remotely anywhere, not just on the other side of the world, but especially on the other side of the world. There's factors that may make them they're unavailable and all that.
As you're building out editing teams, what are some of the ways that you were evaluating them back before Pixlmob? Like one of the most common things I hear, even in doing onboarding for Pixlmobs, is like, how do we vet an editor? We've served up 1,000 editors, and still the most common question is how do you go about vetting one? Like, how do you decide, even though they're at your fingertips, which one of the 1,000 do I choose? So what would be some tips? What were the things you'd look for, whether on Pixlmob or without? Like, what are you looking for in an editor that might be an inclination that they're actually going to show up, they're going to be reliable, they're going to deliver consistent work? What sorts of things would you look for?
We've worked very hard at Pixlmob to try to like bring those things up to the surface.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give two answers. One is use the tools that are there. So if you're using Pixlmob, those things are very easy to get to. Turnaround time, capacity, portfolio, so you see quality of their work, reading other reviews from other photographers that have worked with them.
Capacity, like there's an estimated capacity that we hit at times with different editors.
And then, things like business hours is really helpful to understand when they work and how often they're available.
Yeah.
But then the second part of this is, I think no matter what, part of the equation is actually doing trial work with an editor. Like nothing's going to beat, I send them 5 photos, they send them back, and I have a sense for, okay, this is actual real work and they followed instructions. And I think that's also helpful too, is to kind of stress load it a little bit, like give them complicated stuff that actually represents work that's kind of on the higher end of what might be expected on a regular basis.
Yeah, I've seen a good chunk of photographers, like they have their set of images that they send, and they're like the smart ones, they're not sending like easy normal images. They're sending ones that have like a white balance problem, or they're sending ones that are challenging for some reason, and see what the editor does with them.
Yeah, send them stuff with reflections in the refrigerator.
Send them grayish walls and expect them to balance it.
Right, exactly. Send them stuff with lens flares, from the sun, a backlit house. Send them aerial photos.
Yeah.
Stuff that kind of, shows the spectrum of what they're capable of working with.
It's stuff that honestly, like part of a good relationship with an editor is you don't just have a mantra of, well, we'll just fix it in post. Like you shoot where you don't have crazy lens flares, and you shoot in ways and you give advice of like, hey, this wall was actually more brown than white, even though it looks like it in the file. And actually communicating with the human and not expecting them to be omniscient and not expecting them to do your job for you. I mean, those are the sorts of things that build a great collaborative relationship.
I think that, if you've edited at all as a photographer, there's a lot of benefit to understanding about shooting for the edit.
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest benefits of working with an editor, is that you've got a shorthand essentially in what you deliver to the editor. We see stuff all the time where photographers honestly have no idea what they're doing. They've watched some tutorials. they send in just absolute garbage sometimes.
But sometimes they don't know what to produce to make the edit easier or to like lean it in the direction of getting back an excellent edit. They kind of skew it on accident away from a good edit.
Yeah.
Just by what the raw content that they're delivering.
Exactly. Right. And so like the editor can only do what they can.
They can work with some magic.
What you send them. Right.
But their magic only goes so far.
Right. Yeah. And so if you've got heavily compressed images and the, if you're shooting HDR, you're shooting exposure brackets and they're all misaligned or they're all underexposed, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or I'm missing exposures and stuff. Editors can do some miracles. I've seen it done. It's pretty impressive.
I'm not actually here. I'm going to be completely CGI entered into this podcast. The podcast team loves me because I'm actually somewhere else.
Yes.
But we're just going to fix it in post because Moses isn't here today, right?
Moses never existed.
Yeah. Moses is actually fake. He's an AI avatar that isn't actually real.
Yes. I am the only founder of Pixlmob.
But like joking aside, that feels like how some photographers treat their editors.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm going to submit something that's literally impossible to edit and expect it to come back with Moses CGI'd into the podcast.
Yeah. I think that can go wildly wrong. It's a good and a bad. There's the good side is that I think people can get started into real estate photography very early with not a lot of knowledge, and
which is awesome that there's this whole cadre of editors around the world that can actually pick up decent bracketed photos and get a decent result out of them.
Yeah.
But if you get better at your skills and you make their lives easier, they're going to enjoy working with you more, prioritize your stuff, get in a groove with you. Like if you make their lives easy, they tend to make your life easy because, humans, that's kind of how we work.
Exactly. Yeah. I lean into it. I think, if you're getting started, there's a lot of benefit with working with an experienced editor. They can give you advice. Even if they're not photographers, they see thousands of photos in a week.
And that actually, like smart photographers, you can actually ask the editor, how do I make your life easier?
Yeah.
We don't see a ton of that. I normally see requests of how the editor can make the photographer's life easier. But if you're working on a relationship and you're trying to make a relationship in your business, and business relationships, that's how everything works. And even though the editing feels kind of automated, it's really, it's not. And the automation issues are the actual problems with AI. Sometimes it hits and it's awesome, and other times it's so automated that it totally misses. But on the flip side, with a human, you actually have to kind of stoke that relationship, or it kind of gets stale, and it's not everything it could be.
I think that it can be a great asset in the learning process, and not just the learning process. I think even years beyond. I mean, they have insights on why your photos suck. They will. I mean, if you ask them, they will probably tell you.
But that might be the number one piece of advice that I could give to photographers is ask your editors, how could you shoot better so that they can do a better edit? Yeah. If you ask that one question, many of the editors might not answer it because in many of the cultures, it might be like scary to be like critiquing the photographer.
I see some editors be pretty bold.
Them will be pretty bold, and you could encourage them to be of like, hey, like I want to improve my skills.
Yes.
You are in the middle of my skills. What's causing you problems? What can I do better so that we get a better result together? That kind of conversation, like that's the kind of conversation I want to have with Zach making our podcast. Like I want to have a collaborative give and take and that sort of stuff. And that's what makes the creative intent and the finished product mesh. Yeah. So if you're not spending any time as the business owner developing that space, I think it's kind of unfair for them to just magically create exactly what was in your head that you never communicated or worked on.
Absolutely. People do come in with this kind of like fantasy idea, I think sometimes, that I'm going to just give you a bunch of very loose raw material and then be upset when the photos don't look good.
That's how Spielberg made Jurassic Park, right? It was just like some loose shots and just threw it together. And
can you guys put some dinosaurs in there?
Yeah, throw some dinosaurs in that shot. It'll be cool.
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly how it works.
Art takes collaboration and focus and direction.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
direct the editor and ask them for feedback.
Yeah, I think so. And some of the things that you may not even realize, may have insights into, like your framing. They may give you insights on, you could frame.
Yep.
It's not even necessarily the stuff that makes their life easier.
Yeah,
They may realize that I'm looking at 4 other photographers that night, and I know that theirs look good, and I know why yours looks bad.
Why yours doesn't.
And I can just give you advice of, like, you should frame out with less ceiling, or you should get your camera higher in kitchens and whatever. They can give you, I think asking for that. At the end of the day, editors are very eager to earn your business, very eager. And they want to build a relationship. That's a massive part of the value proposition that they bring to the equation, particularly in a world of AI. So lean into it.
One of the things I think is interesting about Pixlmob and how I see, most of the photographers that I interact with are in the United States, maybe Great Britain, Canada, a few, and tons of other countries, but those are the dominant ones.
Australia.
I'm not trying to leave anybody out. Editors are eager to earn your business. And like, we've mostly been talking about photography editing, right? So you're talking about like raising the camera and doing photographic placement in the house better. But one of the places I think it would be really smart for a lot of photographers to have conversations with their editors is there's a really fast moving, changing fads and trends in real estate video editing. And there's no one on the planet who sees more potential types of video edits than the editors, because they might edit for another 12 photographers in addition to you, asking questions of the types of shots that they think are working and that they're seeing with their clients. Like there's a brain trust on the other side of the world that I don't think photographers often think about tapping into, which I think would be really interesting to foster. And as you're working with an editor, ask them questions, ask them how to make things better. And I think in the video space, even more than in the HDR space, there's so much opportunity to learn from artistry that is maybe different than what you're used to.
I think even a step beyond, well, not beyond, but it is a kind of a different take on the video side. I think that you're right. You can definitely get some interesting perspective and ideas. You can brainstorm with them.
You mean there are ideas beyond just like a speed ramp?
Yeah, right. Do you do speed ramp? Yes, I think that there's a whole world to explore, obviously, and we're seeing a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of new invention happening. And obviously, so much of it happens on the edit.
Yeah, most of that, like most of the trends and fads in video aren't. I mean, some of it's in the shoot. Absolutely, you shoot for the edit.
Definitely takes some coordination there for sure.
But a lot of it is actually done in post in that space. And also, shameless plug, if you're not in like the real estate videography Facebook group, check it out. Some of the coolest real estate videos that I've seen and that have been inspiring in our space, like people post awesome stuff in that group.
All the time, every day. Yeah, very inspiring. I'm going to take it a kind of a different direction, but rather than being completely unique and bespoke, there's also another path, which is about creating templates that work for your business.
Yeah.
And working with an editor on your videos so that you get a repeatable, consistent result.
Yep.
That's very dialed in.
Well, and that was a literal thing that you worked on in particular with North 7th. Like early on, as we were trying to like manage margins and how we're going to do the outsourcing, one of the key things that you did that I thought was genius in working with one of our initial editors. In fact, one of our very first video editors actually on Pixlmob. But one of the things we did with him was we created templates. And you matched beats with particular songs. We had a rotating set of songs that did transitions at particular beats, and there's a template so that Roberts could just go through them really fast. And we used that standardization as a way to get a good price with him that also worked in a way that we weren't taking advantage of him. We were making his job easier. We needed a better price. Yeah. We gave him an easier product to create. And then we came to okay, if you give me this, then I'll give you this price. And that kind of thing would never happen if there wasn't a relationship and talking through those sorts of pieces.
Exactly. That ended up being a massive scaling lever for us.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially you did the work one time and then we're using that over and over and over again. And the thing is that sounds bad, I think, to some people's ears, particularly like the photographers, the media companies think like artists.
Don't need a bespoke song that just strikes your soul with every property.
Right. Yeah. I need to be moved. The thing is you're not giving that up. Like,
no,
you still get to put the creative intent in. The thing is that you're making a mold and you found something that works and you're just going to continue to repeat. And the reason why it works in real estate media, I think it's pretty obvious, is that like you're going to be working, most agents, you're going to do like one a quarter or one every few weeks.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a ton of overlap with that one individual editor or with that one realtor agent.
So we had a stable of songs, and most realtors would never get the same video or the same video song. And then we also used it to differentiate an entirely different product. So we also had a luxury video and up.
Yeah.
That scaled up, and it was a more bespoke music selection, and it was like tailoring it very particularly, doing soundscape design and stuff like that in them. So we had the standardized product, and then we had more bespoke products. This one, we're trying to make the editor's job as easy as possible for your run-of-the-mill kind of edit, and this might be more of your luxury editor, where you're actually not wanting that. You're wanting to engage with what type of music. You're wanting to direct this.
You want it to be bespoke in that case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing is that like people aren't, the thing that makes the video different is the house. And I think people in the videographer
can't
always
make a 3-2 in the middle of a suburban neighborhood look like a $7 million mountainside palace, right?
Yeah, but what I mean, it's not that. Well, hopefully all the houses don't look the same. But what I mean is the video distinction is that the house looks different, and the videographer feels this responsibility that I have to make the video look different, and it looks different because it's a different house. If you shot an interview with 20 different people, you can shoot it in the exact same format, in the exact same seat, in the exact same chair. But 20 different interviews, they'll all be different with different perspective. And that's
particularly if you CGI Moses in making snide comments in the interviews, then they get really interesting.
I think that would make them a little bit more alike, but that's okay. I think it is definitely an opinionated view. I think that people that are trying to build a business that's meant to be scalable, repeatable.
Yeah.
When you have to use your brain, that's when you should charge money. The reality is that people don't want to spend money for real estate videography. We play in a world where like the media is becoming, for real estate media, is very commoditized. It's very similar. The quality, the table stakes are
some of it, like the broad swaths of
right. I'm not saying that there isn't room for it. What I am saying is that like you can build a business where essentially you shoot from it's the same formula for basically every house. And the results will be consistent, which is what realtors want. In most cases, there are cases where people are trying to stand out, are trying to be bespoke, but those are the opportunities where you get to charge more. I think what's interesting, my perspective, having had a media company before, is that basically every time you're making a video, it's a bespoke endeavor. And this is outside of real estate. You're making commercials or talking head type videos or training videos and things. It's rarely
always different. There's not a lot of similarities between them.
Yeah, you're writing out the scripts, all that stuff. This is the luxury for me as a media company owner, is that I basically get to templatize it and train people on a team on how to do that, and then rinse and repeat. And it's just do it over and over and over again consistently.
And I think a lot of times people think about that, and they think about that, well, it's like, okay, so it's not good if it's the same. And honestly, like I would definitely challenge that idea in the strongest terms, because there's two different phenomenons that happen in business. So the one is like, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. The one is like Chick-fil-A or Five Guys or something like that, where their menu has like 20 items on it max.
Right.
And really there's like 4 items and then some little sides and options on it, right? But then you compare that with like a gourmet restaurant in New York City that's making millions of dollars, doing incredibly bespoke, very specific, unique, gold foil, whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Which business is better? I mean, they're both completely different. The one is built around the value of the bespoke, human, unique experience. And Chick-fil-A is one of the most profitable restaurant companies in the world. And they make the same dang thing really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think similarly in real estate photography, you can have a company that scales, and it's not just us. If you look at regional companies, they have templated systems for how they make their videos. Like Todd Kivimaki built into the backside of Spiro a system of, if you shoot it in these particular ways, you can load it in and automatically have this template do a stitching together for you and pair it with the music. These are large companies doing this kind of stuff very successfully. That's the Chick-fil-A model. And then you have others that, I mean, not give a call out, maybe Acre Partners and others are trying to differentiate themselves into a luxury and bespoke space and doing very well. But it's very different types of models. And I think there's space for both of them. You can have a gourmet restaurant and a Chick-fil-A in the same town.
Yeah.
Both
of
could
course.
make millions of dollars.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have said it better. I think putting it into a different perspective with editing, you know, the expectation with editors is consistency. I don't want the editor taking creative license on every photo or every listing.
No, I want a little Chick-fil-A action from some parts of the editing, right?
Almost all of it.
Yeah.
I don't want surprises. I want it to be exactly the same. Consistency, we talked at the outset of this, is one of the most important things. And we had a conversation with Michael Smith in a previous episode, who's a broker, and he brought up consistency as one of the highest valued things.
One of the
that a
biggest
photographer
things
brings.
that he was valuing about the photographer that he chose was consistency 2 different ways. One was like the table stakes of consistent good images.
Yep.
But then secondly, the consistency of how the photographer relates with his brokerage and his agents.
Yeah.
Which is more like customer service.
That's
which
right.
that's how Chick-fil-A sets itself apart.
Yes.
Is it a good chicken sandwich? Absolutely. It's a wonderful chicken sandwich. Also, if Chick-fil-A is in your area, I'm so sorry. You should move. But they have a great chicken sandwich, but what they're known for is the quality of the customer service.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, the original chicken sandwich, but everyone knows Chick-fil-A because it's my pleasure. They're going above and beyond to make sure your meal experience works, and their drive-through line is like that because they're dialed in on what the customer needs. And if I have to make a choice between Chick-fil-A and another restaurant and the drive-through lines are equal, I am 100% always going to Chick-fil-A.
Right.
And in the same way, if your business is more of the commoditized, I'm doing the same type of shoot in a really consistent way, and you have awesome customer service, they're not going to go to that bespoke guy. They're going to go to you because your customer service is on point. That's what's bespoke about your business, is high quality customer service in that space. And maybe it is here too. It could go either way, right? But there's different ways to differentiate yourself that don't have anything to do necessarily with the edit or the quality of it. It's actually you and the relationship you have both with the editor and with the customer. That relationship is everything.
I don't think the contrast is necessarily the creative versus the standardized. I think in both cases, being very high touch is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. I think it's expected in the bespoke.
Yeah.
In the other, there's like this pull toward, well, if it's all similar, then it's not going to have that same feeling of customer service.
Yeah. People feel like
I think that's wrong. It's a wrong assumption.
Exactly. I think that people think they have to stand out by doing something creatively different.
Yeah.
That is their distinction. And, maybe there was a time, 70 years ago where a chicken sandwich was a novel idea. Clearly is not today, but like in Chick-fil-A, obviously, I do think probably like established a genre of sandwiches.
Yeah.
But the thing is like over time, that became very competitive. And I think the way they've continued to stand out is exactly what you've already laid out. I think it's true within the real estate photography businesses as well, where what you're competing against is maybe you do have creative people in your category, in your area that you are competing with. But I think you can build a very strong business without having a creative bone in your body. It's really about being a service company first.
Yeah. I do own a real estate media company after all.
Yeah. The thing is like there is room for creative ideas and variation. I'm not in the slightest saying that that's not true, but I am saying that isn't always have to be the critical thing. And really the margins there are pretty slim. We're saying that like the overlap of most content for videos, there's a way higher margin, but with photos, it's 90% the same.
Okay, so we kind of went on a little rabbit trail there about like the ways businesses can work. Let's take it back and dial it back to editing. So is there a world, like I think we've talked mostly about the relationship we want with an editor, because this is a chain of business interactions, right? The editor serves the photographer serves the realtor, Airbnb, property manager, whatever. So we're talking here of Chick-fil-A or Wolfgang Puck to this customer. But what about this direction? So like, what scenarios would you want a Chick-fil-A editor? It sounded like a minute ago, most of the time you want a consistent product. When would you not? When would you want a Wolfgang Puck editor?
The irony, I think, is that Wolfgang Puck is kind of just a classier Chick-fil-A, but that's okay.
That's true. They do have, they sell. Well, what's a good gourmet dude?
I don't know. I'm not enough of a foodie.
Gordon Ramsay.
It's the same.
Same thing. Yeah, they definitely have systematized their little packaging. Yeah. I don't know who a real chef is anymore. I also feel bad because I feel like Gordon Ramsay is in fact a real chef. But whatever.
I think they're both very
Yeah, what you learned on this podcast
we hate these
Moses
people.
and Matty hate very respected world global chefs. That's what we've learned. Yeah,
exactly. I think the big differences here are probably going to be more on the video side. I think in the photo side,
the photo definitely in the Chick-fil-A direction.
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw in some caveats. So here's the places where I think that you're looking for something different when in the photo categories. It's usually more like architectural photos.
Sure. So your really high-end photos.
And I think this is usually going to be defined more like you are a creative photographer that's bringing a completely different thing to the equation.
You're not just putting a wide-angle camera in the corner and...
Yeah, this is tilt-shift lenses. This is flashes, 5 parts of the room. It's
the entire room is windows and you have to correct the angles on everything.
These are the kind of folks that are showing up a day before for a scouting trip so they know what the sun looks like at 3:00 in the afternoon.
There's still a lot of artistry there.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of so you start to bleed into those categories of photography. Oftentimes it's based on like luxury properties where it's just a standout, amazing.
There's something cool to focus on, and that it's not just a standard living room.
Yeah.
This living room has a sunken foyer and a small fountain in it. Like there's something different you could do with that than you can with a run-of-the-mill living room.
Oftentimes I'm going to guess that a lot of those kind of photographers are not looking to outsource anyways. One of the big advantages of outsourcing is about saving time in scaling. Repeatable parts. In these kind of cases, though, they aren't repeatable parts, and so they're editing it themselves, or they've got a very trusted partner, and it's most cases it's like they're my neighbor, or I've grown up with them, or they're a part of like a creative agency that I've designed and built and hired. They're probably not doing I'm outsourcing.
I'd challenge you there. I've definitely talked to architectural photographers who are looking to outsource, but they sometimes have a hard time finding the Gordon Ramsay editor that can actually keep up with what they're calling out to be cooked.
Well, this is, I think, been kind of a long time argument between you and me. Like, how do you do architectural photography editing on Pixlmob, right?
Yeah. Like, which we don't offer.
We don't, in part because we don't know the right way to do this. Like, there's a commodity to the point where you can put it into a pricing bracket of like Pixlmob actually defines what you get with an HDR edit. And it's going to be roughly the same.
Yeah, and you're going to pay between like 60 cents and $1.20 or something.
And it's per photo.
Yeah.
That's a paradigm that matters in the way we scale for HDR editing. Architectural photos, it's a different thing. And this is part of where we haven't really landed on a great solution, but like,
Yeah.
it's probably more of like an hourly thing. And you are investing in a relationship with someone that you need to probably have multiple conversations about style, and you're giving them a lot of content about the way you shoot. And every photo might come with, here's, 13 to 20 different exposures that have different things that need to be blended in different ways. And there's different kinds of understanding about shooting with tilt shift lenses and all the different things that are going to have new complexities. So there's like a technical skill level, but then there's also like a pricing dynamic. So we haven't found a good solution there. I am interested, I do think there is the Wolfgang Puck version though.
I think it's Emerald, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not Wolfgang Puck. It's not Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
I don't think Emerald is sold out. I mean, he's got a TV show, but I don't see him in the frozen food aisle,
Yeah. Boy, man, you're just still picking on like these Food Network guys or something. I don't know. Emerald is legitimately has frozen food.
Oh, does he? I just haven't seen it.
I think he's just come and gone from the 90s. But no, I do think there's the Wolfgang Puck version, which is a high end thing, but it has also been commoditized. Commoditized is a cheap shot. We've made something that can be a repeatable and consistent result. I think even companies at that scale,
well, that might actually be a good point. Is I ate at a Wolfgang Puck restaurant a couple weeks ago, and we ate at Gordon Ramsay when we were at PMRE a couple years ago. It was really good. Gordon Ramsay wasn't there, but he had built systems and processes and his brand into those restaurants in ways that they still were, at least for me, and I'm not a killer foodie, but they were great experiences.
Yeah. But it was obviously not McDonald's.
Yeah, super different than eating at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I want to pull out is it's not the systemization that makes the artistry. You can have a systematized Wolfgang Puck restaurant or a Gordon Ramsay restaurant it's excellent, but it's also very different than Chick-fil-A. And it's different kinds of bespoke and different kinds of customization is possible that isn't possible over here.
Right.
With Gordon Ramsay, I can say, hey, I'm allergic to eggs. I'm allergic to wheat. What on your menu can I actually eat? Chick-fil-A, they're just going to be you can have fries. Because they can't modify anything about what they're actually making. They can't make me a different kind of chicken sandwich, whereas over here they can.
Right.
Even though it's systematized. So anyway, that bespoke quality I think is pretty important. And similarly with editing, you were going to say a second ago, where does it show up in video world?
Yeah, I think with video, there's a way more room for creative latitude.
On both sides, right? The videographer and the editor.
Yeah, I mean, you have new tools at your disposal. And so movement, time, pacing, music, all the entire soundscape. So there's actually a lot more variables. And so the equation isn't the same, with cameras for still photos, it's pretty a lot more locked in.
Set it and do it.
Yeah. You've got your frame, you've got your four walls, and you're telling the story mostly in that. But then also, I often call these catalog photos, as you're looking through Zillow, the thing you want to stand out is the house, not that it's blue and orange,
or that
you put some crazy Instagram filter on it.
Zany way. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You want them to have a sense of this is a clear and sharp image, that it shows it in its best light. And then beyond that, the creative license starts to move more into atmosphere, which is really more about the way you shoot than it is about even necessarily an editing technique. But you're not going crazy on weird color corrections and color grading with photos. With video, I think that you still want to shy away from crazy color grades too. Like you want it to represent the house well, but like, man, there's so much you can do now. And videos have a different purpose, I believe, as well. Like photos are intended to show up in a listing site.
Like a catalog where you can kind of flip through it. But the video is a little different. It's eye-catching. It's gripping you to go look at all the photos and look at the house.
Right. You need the hook, and it's meant to be in a social media feed, and it's meant to be marketing in a different way. How have you seen, like, what are some of the creative examples you've seen, particularly on the marketing side, that you thought worked really well? Like you mentioned real estate videography. Like, have there been some standouts that you can think of that, like, man, they took this to another level because of literally the editing made this something that stood out in a scrolling scenario where I'm looking through TikTok, Facebook, whatever, and this made me stop.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always shifting, right? Like it's always changing what is going to make you stop. Because like 3 or 4 years ago, it literally might have been speed ramps. Like it was new, it was different than how real estate videos were being shot 4 or 5 years ago. So you see it and you're like, hey, that was kind of cool. I wonder how they zoomed through the door or whatever. It's kind of standard nowadays. But 4 years ago, it wasn't. Now you're seeing more like, I don't know, like data dust conversions in the videography, and you're seeing more different types of flashes and things that are designed to grab your eye and pull you into a cool part of the house. But I don't think there's any one set of tricks to use. I think it's constantly changing because as soon as it becomes standard, it's not grabbing your eye anymore. It's not stopping your feed anymore. You got to continuously be creative. You got to be in video world. You got to lean toward Wolfgang Puck, I think, in order to be continuously reinventing how people are experiencing their palette and their feed.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah, I think this is actually a mistake that some media companies could fall into. I think there is a place for that. But usually most artists create a signature. And
no, it's fair. There can be some similarities for sure.
And then oftentimes the value that they bring is that they have figured out something that works and that they have become the source for that thing.
Yeah.
And often you'll see this is their blue era or whatever, like they work in these eras. But like you could do, I think building in business about like, we do this kind of style, and you become known for a signature. And I think that oftentimes it's intimidating as a videographer to go through the real estate videography group and go, man, this is constantly changing, or I saw this somewhere else, so I can't do that. Or I did this once and now I can't do it again. Like, I don't think that's true at all. Like we see it in a feed where we're seeing the same video over and over again. Our customers are not seeing it that way, and their buyers are definitely not seeing it that way, because that stands out among the millions of photos of people popping pimples and whatever else, like it's showing up in their TikTok feed. So
that'll make you stop though for a second.
Yeah. So new idea.
Just
real estate and
pimple pop, and then the house.
If you can do like a house pimple pop, that's the new trend.
Yeah,
calling it now.
Wow, that's not something we want to encourage. Okay, give me your hot take. The one piece of advice you'd give to a photography company in building a great relationship with their editor.
The same way you don't want realtors to be an asshole with you is exactly how the editors want you to not be an asshole with them. And this is something we see all the time where, crap rolls downhill. And I think that's kind of how this ends up playing out.
Yeah. The realtor's pressuring the photographer, and then the photographer is mean to the editor.
It is usually a multi-layered hill here where it's like the buyer's upset and then complains to the realtor's upset, claim to the photographer's upset, and they complain to the editor. And it's just, and they're probably a team of editors, and the manager there's upset, and they're going down to, it's just like this trickle down effect that is of negativity that could be very bad.
Yeah.
And so treat them the same way that you want to be treated. I mean, this is not like super novel, unique advice, but often it's easy to think about it's so easy to feel that pain when you're the service provider and you're being mistreated, but then I see those same people go around and have that exact same behavior with an editor. It is complicated by there's language barriers. And so this is my other hot take is don't assume because they've got broken English that they're stupid. Cause it's not true at all.
No, in fact, the top editor at Pixlmob made approximately $1 million last year running his business through Pixlmob. Like, this is not an unintelligent person, though. If you talk with him, his English isn't perfect, but that's an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any?
I mean, I think you nailed it. I think the golden rule is definitely the one. Like, if you wouldn't want your realtor to look at you and say, I don't like these 3 shots, so I want you to knock $50 off the price, you shouldn't look at your editor and be like, these edits I don't like these, so I need you to give me $5 off. It's just don't. Like, work with them, sure. Ask for revisions if they're needed, but don't be a jerk. Somebody's worked hard on your project for you. Work with them to make it what your vision is, but don't just use creative differences as an excuse to build your profit margin, if you will. That's not the way to grow a business. You need a relationship with that editor where they're going to have your back and they're excited to get your projects. Not, this is the last one I'm going to work on tonight because that guy's an ass.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
Relationships. Humans work on relationships. Build a good relationship with your editor. They'll take good care of you.